The software I will be designing is intended to allow the user to create and manage a spell list for a 5th edition druid or cleric character, as every day they need to prepare a new list of spells that they'll be able to use that day. The functionality will include being able to create a character to store their wisdom, class, and level, right here, create a spell list and view a spell list, which will both give you the option to prepare spells and to delete a spell list once the day is done and there's no use for it anymore. Moving on to my analysis model and my class diagram. We have the character class in order to store the information and to launch all these functions that I've got built in here to create, view, and delete the list, and to ask for details to fill these up. It has a 1 to 0 to 1 relationship with a spell list class because a character can have 0 or 1 spell list, but a spell list belongs to only one character. The spell list class contains the functions its constructor, which will take in the level and the wisdom of the character, which will be passed in from the character where it's called, and the wisdom and the level will come into play later in either of the subclasses that will be selected depending on which class you were, druid spell list or cleric spell list. The level and wisdom I mentioned a few seconds ago will calculate the allowed spells, which is made up of your wisdom and your level added together. It will, the spell list superclass, although never to be instantiated, will be able to display your prepared spells and display a warning for when you're about to delete it, and submit changes to the list when you decide to make them. The druid spell list will be able to show only druid spells, considering it's for a druid. It will make use of this is druid spell function that will return a boolean, true or false, depending on whether or not the class of the spell, which is over here, will be druid or cleric. Cleric spell list functions exactly the same, this being used in that to determine whether it's a cleric spell or not. The spell class itself has its constructor and a prepare toggle, which will toggle whether or not it's in your list or not today. And now onto my my sequence diagrams. The create character sequence diagram details it's very simple. It's just asking for details to create the character. But then when you create a spell list, we're assuming in this case that the character class chosen is Druid, just for this example. It would run very similarly for a cleric. You create the spell list. It instantiates a Druid spell list for you, and then displays them. And then after the user has done collecting whichever spells he needs for the day, it submits changes. The delete spell list will display a warning first in order to stop the user from accidentally deleting today's spell list and having to build it again. And the view spell list will display the ones you have prepared and allow you to make changes to this before submitting changes, and that's that. Thank you.